Hey guys, what it is your girl Cadillac. Yes, I'm Cadillac Dixon. I'm the drama like prison wife. I'm the legally blind artist that is rapping and painting for justice. Girl, I'm hoping, girl, to see justice before it all fades to black. Yes, it's your girl Cadillac. Anyways, guys, I am coming through on today, March the 23rd, 2023. So today is 3/23/23. Yes, girl. Yes. Anyways, work again. And lately your girl been taking notes, girl. Yes. These notes are really helping me to get my thoughts together. It's really helping me to tell the story. So I'm glad that I'm back to taking notes. It's almost like, girl, okay, so y'all know I was a female rapper. I was in love with hip hop. And I personally thought that Lil Wayne was a lot better when he was actually writing his raps, when he was writing his verses. Now, I know everybody gonna oppose me, so that's okay. I don't need nobody to chime in with me. This is how I feel. This is my opinion, and I can have an opinion, girl. So, when he started freestyling, I started really just not liking his music because it stopped having... some of it just didn't make no sense. And then I just started thinking he was just throwing some stuff together just to throw it together, because it had got to the point where no matter what he put out, girl, people loved it anyway. So I am going to liken that to this. When I felt like he really shouldn't have been, freestyling. Freestyling is a art form. Now there's some people that freestyle and it be just completely on point, like my cuz Feel the Bad Guy. Yes, I'm gonna get him one day to freestyle for y'all. He can actually, like, he has that gift. Okay. Lil Wayne, which I started calling him Lil Lame after a while, because I was like, and I actually love Lil Wayne, but I just like him more as a freestyle artist. Just as myself, I used to try to freestyle. Girl, that did not sound good, and I knew it didn't sound good. And I possibly could have got better at freestyling, but because that was not my gift, I got better at writing. I have a gift of writing. So when I write things, girl, I got that golden pen touch, girl. So as I write out my notes, I said all that to say, when I write down my notes and my thoughts, it seems as though it comes together much better than it does when I just get on and just try to talk. A lot of times I don't have time to write, though. I don't edit no more, which I might pick my editing back up. I don't know. I'm going to see. I'm going to ease my way into it. But I'm loving the notes so far. Girl, they must have blown away. I don't know where I put them darn things at. I just showed them to you. Ain't this crazy? Oh, it's right here. Okay. So, y'all know, now I guess this is going to be part 7, right? Of the grave mistakes that we make when we decide to take a conviction at face. Girl, that would have rhymed, but then I have to say value. But the grave mistakes we make when we decide to take a conviction at face value. Meaning, because they're convicted, you just assume, yes, you make an ass out yourself, girl, when you assume that they are guilty of their crime just because they have been convicted, knowing the level of corruption in not only the system, but from the beginning. And I'm going through the assembly line of a case and showing how each part, each hand effectively tainted Marcello's case and is why he is wrongfully convicted. Okay, so rather than me just keep saying he's wrongfully convicted and excessively sentenced, girl, let me show you how. So this is going to be part 7 of it, and I'm still just on the police. Like, girl, like most wrongful convictions start with wrongful arrest. The officers are the ones that write these charges up and decide what we finna take to court, what's gonna head to court. It's like generating the charge. They are the ones that starts the generation of a charge. You know how you go to the store and you charge something on your card and then a charge is generated? Okay, so basically the officers is the one that generates that initial charge to send. Like, you know how you create a charge on your card and then they send you a bill, so that the case and the bill is going to be equal. So the charge is generated by the authorities. There's never a case if there wasn't an arrest. Like, you don't just have cases without an arrest first. Okay, so we're going to get right back into it. If you want to go through the playlist, it is going to be in Marcello, the playlist that I have, Marcello Jackson, wrongfully convicted Florida man. I started this series here off of just researching almost did it again, the Corey Miller case, aka C murder case, of being wrongfully convicted. We're going back and researching his case. I don't like when people in my husband's case just say, oh, he's out there. Like, girl, listen to the case first, then decide. Like, you can't just come in and guilty. Yeah, listen first. Listen to the full extent of it and then pass judgment. So that's what I'm going to do in that case, because I admit I didn't know his case that well. But I did really appreciate the fact that he was taking a stand for basically the inhumane stance that our DLC is in, and it's not just Louisiana. So he was making a stand in taking a stand, in Louisiana DLC, but here Florida DLC ain't too much better, I don't think. I'm gonna just go off on a limb and just say the America's DLC is not all that. Probably most likely because it became profitable. And wherever money is, usually you're going to find corruption and things like of that sort. Okay, so let's get right back into it. Okay, so leaving off, the $60, y'all know that's the $60, that they basically, okay, so yesterday's video, I was really like reading how it would have played out if the officer that arrested Marcello was doing things the right way and by the book and by the law and by our civil rights. If he was doing it the way that he should have done it, what would have happened? That's what that basically is. It's a mythical story of the officers doing the right thing, right? Okay. So the $60 taken from Marcello, and he gives it to the two white guys. Now, I'm only using race because race played a big part in the whole situation. And that's how they was referring to everybody. Okay, so the $60 is basically what Marcello is accused of robbing from the two alleged victims, right? So they said in their written affidavits with the the arresting officer, that Marcello had robbed them of $80. When Marcello was arrested and searched, they only found $60 on him. The judge say you cannot charge him with robbery because the money does not align. But when they had already wrote their affidavits, their sworn statements of what happened that night in question, once Marcello was searched and they only found 60, the arresting officer gave their sworn affidavits back to them and told them to amend it and put 60 so that it can align with what Marcello had on him. So you see where it is crossed out. I guess he couldn't have been too smart, because if you fully trying to wrongfully convict somebody, wouldn't you just start with a new piece of paper? Like, they literally just crossed it out and initialed it, and one initialed with the smiley face. Like, if you were trying to, like, not botch the wrongful conviction, wouldn't you just start with a new charging affidavit and rewrite the ish? But they wouldn't. They know the courts and the system. They know that they're not going to take the time to even care. So they don't even take the time to hide it. They don't need to hide it, because they're going to be sided with if it makes sense or if it doesn't make sense. Okay, the $60 taken from Marcello, and it was given to the two white guys, even though it was not the amount they said was taken from them. There was no proof that that was their money. And they didn't even investigate to see if, in fact, it was their money. Okay, so what I mean by that is that when they searched Marcello and he had $60 on him, it was asked, like, okay, so where you get this money from? Marcello said he had just gotten paid. I don't know if he got paid that day or that Friday or whatever. This was a Sunday night that this whole incident happened. Okay, so he has said that he had just got paid. Now, it was said during the trial, why didn't they didn't do any research. They did no research. They just took the two alleged victims' word at face value. I'm talking about taking a conviction at face value. The arresting officer took their word as at face value. Whatever they told them, they ran with that, and that was it. They did not investigate further to see if what they were saying was truthful. Okay, so how the investigation of the money should have went, because they said that Marcello demanded at G Point their wallets. Now, remember, Marcello is being charged with a weapon, but the weapon was never recovered. If there was a weapon in Marcello's case, indeed, there would be no way that the weapon could have not been recovered. So either that weapon, that if it indeed existed, how did it go missing? Because there's no way it should have not been found if it ever existed. There's no way. There is no way. They tried to explain it away, y'all know, by watching the other videos, by lying and saying, and we're going to get into that tonight. I'm going to read to y'all the police's testimony in the transcript. I cannot wait to get to this so y'all can hear their conflicting with one another. Rather than me just telling you their testimonies conflicted, y'all finna hear it. Y'all finna hear it. So they tried to make it seem as though Marcello ran because that gives him space, time, and distance to discard this weapon. But within examination and cross-examination, it was determined Marcello Jackson never ran. He was arrested right where the car stopped. So if he was arrested, he had a weapon on his person. Where did this weapon go? And how are you still able to charge him with it, though it didn't, you don't have it? Okay, so the way that $60, I'm sorry, I got off on a tangent. The way that should have been investigated was they said that Marcello said, "Give me all your money." They said it was two of them. They said they handed Marcello their wallets. He went through each wallet and there was nothing in there. And he said that, "I know you got something. I know you got something. Either you give me your money or, whatever." I don't know exactly what was said, but he was basically, "This ain't over till you give me something." So he had his hands, per them, on their wallets. When in court, they asked, "Why did you not dust the wallets for fingerprints?" They didn't have an answer as to why. Because if he definitely touched those wallets, his prints would be on those wallets. Okay, so they did not dust the wallets, which was something simple to do. Okay, and then they said that they didn't have any money in the wallets when he attempted to rob them. But one guy remembers that he had $60 that he had just borrowed from his friend the bartender, which was separate from his wallet. And the money was there in his pocket aside from being in his wallet. Okay, that part, I'm going to tell you why I would think it was separate from the wallet. I can get to that now of why I think the money was separate from the wallet. If it in fact was his money. If it was in fact his money, why would the money be separate from the wallet? Because who carries loose money in their pocket and then carries a wallet as well? Okay, so unless you about to go buy something, if you get what I mean, that might be my only reason I'm finna have money separate from my wallet, because I don't want to fumble pulling my wallet out. And I want to have my money already ready. Girl, ready for what? Ready for what? For the reason they were in that car. The cousin was driving them to go get right. Who got time to be fumbling through wallets if I'm trying to go get right? That would be the only reason I could believe that they had that money and had it separate from their wallet. Because other than that, it really doesn't make sense. But they said that they borrowed $80 from the bartender. And he remembered that he had that. And he was like, "If I give you this, will you stop? Just let us go. Will you stop?" They were so scared for their lives, right? So the trail of the money should have been investigated. Since they claimed that this money had come from the bartender, why was the bartender not questioned? Why was the bartender their friend? I'm sure their friend would have vouched for them. Why was the bartender not asked to be on the stand, to testify, and to be cross-examined? Because this would have been the paper trail to that money, that $80. So that's they didn't do none of that. So those are leads in the investigation that should have been investigated but were not. Okay, that means the origin of the money from the bartender should have been at least investigated. Yes. Okay. I can't read my writing right here. Oh, yeah, that's the rest of investigated. Yeah. And questioned. Yes. So the bartender should have been at least questioned. They should have at least had some paper trail of, oh, we questioned the bartender. And he said, yes, I did loan my friends $60. Like, girl. Okay. And their stories. And even more so because of the discrepancy. So they really should have did it because the money did not line up. Because the money didn't line up. That makes it even more that they should have investigated the origins of this money. Rather than investigating the origins, here it is. The money, they just took their story at face value. That Marcello robbed them of $60. Okay. And what's funny to me is if Marcello robbed both of them of this $60, how did they both make that mistake? Because I can see one making a mistake because they kept saying that they were just so nervous that they meant 80. I'm sorry, they meant 60, but they wrote 80. But how both of y'all was that nervous that both of y'all wrote in the wrong amount? Okay. They took it from Marcello and put it on him. So basically, Marcello was searched. He was found with 60, though they said that he robbed 80 from them. So they took Marcello's 60 that Marcello said that he had earned from working and paid his check, right? And now he is basically getting prosecuted for his own $60. The money that came out Marcello's pocket, now he is getting prosecuted for having that money on him when it has not been determined where that money came from, right? There's two different people saying two different things. And this is the part. Why are the alleged victims not suspects? Why are they just being taken at face value when they say, hey, we were robbed? Okay. So they put it on him. So what if Marcello is in prison for 40 years for getting paid $60? For just getting paid, cashing his check. This was the time when you would cash your check. This was 2001. Cash your check, got $60 on you, and because you got $60, someone alleged you robbed them. So now you going to jail for 40 years for some money you made yourself, right? So the second suspect, the driver, oh, this is a whole different part. I'm sorry. So another aspect is the police. So we're going back to what they should have done versus what they did. Okay, so they claim the driver got away, got away. He got away from the perimeter blocked off. He got away from the police stalls. He got out of the helicopter overhead searching and two officers chasing him. He got away from all of that, girl. Okay, so the second suspect, the driver, was actually caught, but they lied. The officers lied and said they didn't catch him. And I have a document that I'm going to show you guys. I don't know, it probably won't be in this video because today I'm finna read that transcript. But I'm going to show y'all the document that proves the driver was actually caught. He was caught. Now, we can't dispute that. And they definitely said he was not caught. So that's a bold-faced lie. That's a proven lie. Like everything else is in shades of gray. We can't, when somebody lying, but you can't quite tell it. You can't quite, I know it ain't. But that is completely proven to be a lie. He was arrested. But they lied. And they lied on stand, under oath, and said that they didn't catch him. Okay. initially during the trial and saying that they did not catch him. They actually had a separate trial for him. So I'm thinking what I probably need to do, since the driver was arrested, maybe I need them transcripts. Possibly I need to go through that second said trial and compare it. What was said in that one with the driver and what was said in Marcello's? Because there can't be two truths in the same. We are not in Spider-Verse. It is not no parallel universe thing. It's one truth. One truth. A verdict means truth. There's only one truth. So I need to look into that so I could see what was said there. Because there's probably a bunch of conflict of interest between the two trials. That's why they don't want the jury to know that this happened and that happened. And then I'm wondering, because of that, a small technicality in Corey Miller's case, it got him a whole appeal. It got that first case turned over. And that technicality was that one of the guys that testified against him and ID'd him, they did not let the jury know about his criminal background, which means when you testify, you usually get something out of the ordeal for testifying for them. In Marcello's case, the driver, for testifying against Marcello, basically got immunity from it. They made Marcello the head of this crime. They X'd him out and tried him separately. And he got a much, 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 much lighter sentence than Marcello. The two alleged victims that were really in that car to go get right, Marcello just got in that car. They gained not being a part of the trial because they testified against Marcello, and it was against their will. They did not want to testify against Marcello. They were forced to testify against Marcello. And who forced them was Marcello's public defender. Marcello's own public defender forced the two alleged victims to testify against Marcello. Okay. And the thing is, what they got was not being a suspect. They're X'd out. Now they're victims, alleged victims. They're not actually in jeopardy of going to jail themselves anymore. They're on the outside, and they're pressing charges. Okay. And how they were forced, like if you're following along, if you were following along, you know the way that they were forced was because my husband's trial came and the two alleged victims, instead of coming to court, they had already ignored several subpoenas each to come to court, to give their deposition, to come to trial and testify. They ignored all of those. Trial date came. Nobody showed up but Marcello and myself. And without the people to press the charges, they would have had to drop the charges, drop the case. But instead of the case being dropped, Marcello's public defender, which sounds weird, but Marcello's public defender asked the judge to continue the case and give him a chance because he just found out, he claims, he just found out that the alleged victims moved after this happened from Orlando to Vermont. That really shows they didn't want nothing to do with this. They moved town, and it wasn't, they were in two different cities in Vermont, or two areas in Vermont. So they moved, and they thought the trial had passed, and it did. But since it was continued, it gave that public defender time to get them to come to court. So when the continuance came, at first he told us that he got only one to come to court, which that would have been worse in our situation, because what made it so great when both came to court is that their stories conflicted so much. One testified this, the other would testify the opposite. One testified this, the other would testify. They didn't know how to keep up with what was going on. So I'm going to read the part about the arresting officer, the three officers first, and let you hear how they're conflicting with one another. And then when I get some time, I'm going to read the transcript from the beginning so you could follow this trial all the way through. I'm going to be honest with you, like completely honest, girl. I'm always honest, like on this channel. I'm not here to lie or anything. Like, I don't have time for that. If he did it, I would have took several seats years upon years ago, and I wouldn't have dedicated 2 decades plus of my life to fight for someone who is really guilty. Though I love him, baby, you just got to do your time. I could have supported him, you know, but by him being innocent, I'm going to fight until he's free. I'm going to fight. And saying that he's innocent does not say that he's perfect. He's innocent of this crime. He didn't commit these crimes that he's on book for. So that's not in no way saying that he's a perfect man that ain't never did nothing, ain't did this, ain't did that, though he didn't have no priors. Marcello was a 19-year-old boy when this happened. He was a father, he was a husband, but he still was a boy. 19-year-old boy, just caught up. Wrong place, wrong time. And took his whole life before his life could even start. So, girl, I be going off on tangents to the point I forget what the heck what was I talking about, girl? I don't know. Maybe I get, maybe I remember. But okay, so they lied, and initially during the trial, they all said that they did not catch that driver. They actually had a separate trial for him. Okay, so now I got a question about, like in Corey Miller's case, because there was information about the person that testified against Corey Miller having a criminal background himself, and he just basically trying to save his ass. Like, because they did not disclose that, they felt like that could have affected the jury's decision had they known. So I'm thinking if the jury in Marcello's case actually knew that they did in fact catch the driver, how would that have changed their verdict? Would that have changed anything in their verdict, right? Because that question came up as the case was closing, but the judge said he is not going to answer, because they asked, did anybody know that the driver and the passenger were cousins? And the judge said, I am not going to answer that question. Okay. Now, I have a document that does prove, and my last note was to read the document that proves that he was caught, that driver was caught, and they just lying and saying he one girl. So I'm going to, I think first I'm going to, because I want to vote, I'm not basically doing these videos to incriminate nobody. I'm doing these videos to free my husband. Whatever karma any of them got coming, they got coming. You took somebody's life. I mean, you didn't have to kill him, but you basically killed him through taking his actual life. You took his essence. You took his time away from his child. You took my life, because I'm an artist. I should have been painting the world, but yet I'm up here doing Project Reach the World. You took our daughter, a part of our daughter's life. You made her suffer. So all your karma is going to come back to you. That's the judge, that's them officers, that's the driver that ran away, that's the two guys that testified, though they did. Everybody is going to pay for the part that they have done in this case, and done with convicting someone innocent. I'm not going to make you pay, but see, what goes around comes around. So I'm not interested in revenge. That's why I'm not out here to tell people's names and this and that. What I am going to do is do what I got to do to free my husband. That's the goal. That's the focus. So I'm going to read that document soon. But the first thing I'm finna do is upload this one, because this got really long. And in the next one, we're going to read the transcript. Girl. All right. Hiss your girl, Cadillac.